sticky as a later on we found out that the intake hose, the part where the air will come, after the filter, was cracked. And what they found is that there was debris, things coming inside, and something happened that got something stuck, something there. It was an issue of how the car was working, because something was not working properly, something was cracked, something was not right. Just like me, the solution was not trying to find more road to drive it, because at some point I was going to crash. And when we think about being in a hurry at the time, I'm always pressed for time, I dare to say that maybe the solution is not more time. Maybe we need to look into something more. These are, what happened here? Oh, what do we have there? This is what we are against. I don't know why the one was there before. Anyways, we'll move on. When I go, when I spend some time looking at my phone, and when you do that, or when you read the news, or you follow movies or stuff like that, or you follow Instagram people or influencers, don't you feel like you're doing nothing in your life? Right? There's always one more book to read. There's always a country to visit. There's always a restaurant in town that you haven't tried. There's always a trendy look that you haven't bought yet. There's always an Amazon product that you forgot to order in the 15 boxes you ordered yesterday. There's always something missing. There's always one more thing. There's always one more country to go and one more passport stamp to get. There's always one more dollar to be made. It's never ending. We live in a culture that demands us and tells us that we are not doing enough, and we have made ourselves be something that we are not meant to be. There's a difference. The title of our sermon today is called Image and Dust. We emphasize the reality that we are children of God, that we are created in the image of God, that we have been created for relationships, and God gave us the capacity to minister, to be stewards of this earth, and to work with our hands to produce something that will be good, not just for us, but for the people around us. We emphasize a lot in Christianity how much we have to contribute and to produce and we have to do. And yes, that is right. That is part of the duties and the privileges of being a child of God. Something that we do not emphasize often is our boundaries and limitations. It is interesting that the Bible tells us that we were created at the image of God. After, we are told that we were created from the dust. In case we ever forget who we are, the Bible is telling us, yes, you are created by the image of God. You are the image of God. But also, let me tell you something. You are dust. When you die, you will become dust. And this is good because we need to remember that as human beings, we need to remember that we are human beings. What the expectations that we have, the expectations that have been created, not only about beauty, physical beauty, but everything else that comes regarding our lives and the events and the things that we have to do, are not human, are superhuman. And in most cases, fake and fabricated. Yeah, you see that person is traveling to 15 countries in Instagram, but what you don't see is how many credit card debt that person has. Right? Yeah, you see all those angles and shapes of women looking so perfect and that. But you don't know how it looks after the angle goes away. We have set ourselves expectations and we have bought into these cultural demands that are making us miserable. And there's always lacking and lacking. So maybe this year as we start, maybe we shouldn't think much about what we're going to do, maybe as much as what can we remove from our life that will make our lives more like near the purpose for which we were created for. Look at the book of Ephesians chapter 5 verse 15 to 16. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. I was having a conference call with one of my mentors yesterday, and she told me something that was very interesting. You need to waste time to gain time. I was like, what? What she was doing is she was basically being like a mom, pulling it from the ears and telling me, you need to take time to waste time. I was like, but that doesn't make sense. That's not an advice that a good mentor will say, because that will not make me more productive. That will make me more, you're telling me that what? That I need to waste time? What a silly thing. I don't want to be a mentor anymore. That doesn't make sense. That goes against the culture, that what the expectation of the world. And he's saying, like, look how you use the time. No, that's not wise, but that's wise. Making the best use of the time. Now, the definition of the best use will be correlated to your purpose. And your purpose will be related to your identity. So it is important that we remember what is the meaning of being the image of God. And therefore, what is the central thing that we must focus on in our existence. I keep realizing this. You know, in this country, it's cheaper to buy a rifle than to get your tooth taken care of. Have you noticed that? You could spend less on buying a gun than going to the dentist. A visit to the hospital is the longest and the most expensive overnight stay that you will ever have in your life. So when you take care of that, when you look at that, and you see how much really cost to stay alive, I may dare to say then that our most precious capital and what we really must really focus on when it's about the usage of our time is about living our lives. And enjoying the life that we have given, that we have received. Yesterday we were visiting the hospital to visit Cheryl. And it was very interesting to see all these cases coming through the emergency. Right? We come to emergency rooms because we want to extend our expectations or our hope for life. Right? We spend money going to a hospital emergencies because we are willing to spend $100,000 because we want to have our beloved one, our friend, or ourselves alive for a longer time. But we value life only when we have to face realities like that. But in the everyday, listen, we are living something that's very valuable. And Paul is inviting us to do this and to consider this. Look at Psalms 103, verse 15 to 18. And think about these Bible verses in that relationship of being image and dust. Potential and limitations. As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over, and it is gone. And its place knows it no more. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children, to those who keep his covenant and remember to do his commandments. There is something better that we can pursue. There is something better than the trends and the expectations and the bigger trucks and the bigger cars and the newer things and the bigger things and the more bank accounts or whatever it is that you're chasing after using this precious gift that is life. And hurry and this chase for more is poison for our spiritual lives. Because the first thing that we usually sacrifice when we are chasing objects are relationships. Vertical and sideways. This morning at the collective of the young adults, we talked about this relational integrity. And we did some work with the young adults on what are the risks this week that I have that will affect my relational integrity. Vertical with God and horizontal with the people around me. So we wrote lists and say, at the end of the week, if these risk factors become true, how will my week look like? So we wrote it down. This and this and this and this are risks towards that may affect my relational integrity. And most of them answer From 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being, yeah, I can wait for it. Most of them went like this. If all these reasons, all these things that want to attack and destroy your relational integrity come true, how would your week look like? 1, terrible. So we work and say, okay, what are 2 things that you think you could do to preserve your relational integrity? David is telling us here that there is something very important. That the life of man, and therefore everything that we do for this, in this reality, in this human reality, is like grass. Looks nice for a little bit, but without a doubt, it will disappear. And then his challenge is then to seek something greater. The steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting. This is very important. I like how David makes this contrast, right? Because between the finitude of humanity, how little and small and temporary we are, and the everlasting reality and never-ending reality of God. Basically, he's telling us this. Listen, guys, you guys are chasing all these things, after things. You're putting yourself expectations and things and goals, and you're chasing things and moving after. You have to remember that in the beginning of the history of the world, Satan was very smart. He tried to make our forefathers, our father and mother, Adam and Eve, believe that they could be God. I want you to look through your schedule for this week. Okay? And the events that you usually have, and the activities that historically you can predict this week is going to look like that. As you go through that, I want you to answer this question. Which one of these things in my list am I really called to do or to fulfill? Right? As a human, as a father, as a husband, as a church member, as a church leader, as a teacher, as a nurse, and whatever it is that you do, or maybe beyond your employment, go through your list and say, which one of these are truly my calling and my purpose that comes as a result of my identity in Christ? And go through your list again and ask a different question. Which ones of these things I am doing outside of what I should be doing or what I am called to do? You know what overperforming means? And it's sometimes when we think that we need to do the work that belongs to the other person. And this happens to good people, it happens to Christians again. Have you found yourself putting expectations and work on yourself that really belongs to someone else? And at the end, we become enablers. We are helping people do a lifestyle or create patterns of behavior and actions and lifestyles that are not going to help them. And at the end, we are burned out, we're tired, we're angry, we build resentment. So Psalms, David is reminding us here that, hey, listen, you are human, you are not God. Which one of the things that you think you're doing this week, you're doing out of this belief of this Savior complex, this Messiah complex? If I don't do it, the world will come to an end. Hey, you're burned out, you're tired, it's barely, January's not even there, and you're already like, I can't wait for Christmas. Why? You're human. But also, if I tell you this, is that the solution is not finding more time. The solution is to slow down and simplify our lives around what really matters. How does that look like? We're chasing greatness. We're missing the great treasures that we have with us right now. The moments that are given today, the life that we get to enjoy today, assuming and taking and gambling that we will still have a future, alive, a tomorrow to take care of the things that are really important. Because today we have to chase greatness. We have to chase divine like status. I have to become an elite member of this very specific club that society will see as people are successful and great and magnificent. And wow, look at her, look how he does it. Wow. We're chasing the wows. But what if we stop and we recalibrate? You're human. The solution is not found in more time. This is what John Mark Comer said. It is to slow down and to simplify our lives around what really matters. How would that look like?
If you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would you choose?
Can't even that.